UFC 274. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Charles Oliveira defends the lightweight belt against Justin Gaethje. Co-main, Rose Namajunas rematches Carla Esparza, looking to avenge that loss for the women's strawweight belt. This card is stacked on the main. Pretty good prelims too. We'll talk about each matchup on it. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and share the video as well. And let's jump right into it. First one is Andre Fialho versus Cameron VanCamp. Fialho just recently fought, getting a huge win over Miguel Baeza. I'm picking him to win this fight against Cameron VanCamp. VanCamp, more so known for his game at 55, but does fight at 70 as well. Jumping up here in a big spot against Andre Fialho. Not an easy matchup at all. I think Fialho's stand-up game is going to be a pretty big problem for Cameron, and Fialho is pretty competent on the floor. I don't mind the VanCamp game, and I mean, if he was fighting somebody more towards like the real far back of the rankings, I think that'd be a lot better of a debut for him. But Fialho just beat up a game Miguel Baeza. Went the distance with Michel Pereira. I think this is a bad matchup for VanCamp early. VanCamp's game's solid, though. I mean, he's got pretty good takedowns, submission game. Definitely likes to be heavy on top. Works well with the wrestling position. Striking is comfortable out of both stances. But I think Fialho, the boxing is a big difference maker. Pressure, striking attack with Fialho. Definitely a patient game, but gets started fast and really can put heavy pressure on his opponents. I mean, this guy showed serious power. And I mean, even in his loss to Michel Pereira, he had moments where he looked really good there. I like the way he rips low kicks as well. He definitely can eat strikes too. I do expect VanCamp to look to shoot. I believe Fialho will have the chops to defend the wrestling here, keep it upright. I think his hands are going to be working well, and he'll slowly break VanCamp over and then stop him. I'm thinking first or second round knockout for the Andre Fialho side. No official lines have been released yet, but I will guess the odds will look around minus 300 in the favor of Fialho. Could be a little less than that, could be even wider. When they do drop, they'll be in the comments. So definitely check the comments. I'll have it pinned for the Fialho versus VanCamp odds and what I think of a potential bet there. But I'm confident that Fialho does get the knockout. I'm thinking first or second round. VanCamp definitely is going to look to wrestle, and I think he'll be stifled here and beaten by a serious puncher. And I think Fialho can do interesting work here in the UFC welterweight division. I'm curious to see him towards the top 15. I definitely think his trajectory seems to be going straight upward. Went through the Bellator ranks, fought there, and has gathered a lot of experience outside of the UFC. Now coming over at 28, he's in, I believe, the prime of his career now, and I think he's going to do fairly well. I like Fialho win, knockout to start it off here against Cameron VanCamp. Next fight of the night, Journey Newson versus Fernie Garcia. I'm actually picking the Journey Newson side. I feel like Fernie Garcia's there to be hit a bit. He's a pressure kickboxer who does mix it up fairly well, but I don't see him as like super talented in the stand-up. Journey Newson is a guy that definitely has some heavy hands and power. Badly was knocked out by Randy Costa in the last one. Before that, stopped Domingo Palarte easily. But if you look at the fight against a pretty game Ricardo Khaos, Newson was there in the fight. I mean, he went the full distance. Is still pretty good with his punch combinations. I like the pressure from Newson. He's an athletic guy, explosive with the power. I think you're going to see Fernie look to pepper that jab a bit. Only a slight reach advantage, half inch. I see Newson closing that distance. I see him landing some big power shots, but I do think Fernie has a chin on him. I expect this fight to go long. I think Newsom's there for the full thing. I think unanimous decision for Journey Newson, but it is a competitive matchup. I mean, Fernie Garcia is the favorite here. The line for him is sitting at minus 150. Journey Newson, the plus 150 underdog. I like that Journey Newson side as a dog. I don't know about a knockout here. Newson can go distance. I think we're seeing him have quick fights, but he's a guy that can go a bit longer. I believe it's now or never too for Journey. He's 33 years of age. been some layoffs and delays in his career, and he fights a tough guy in Fernie Garcia coming in who likes to strike. I think we got an entertaining matchup on our hands for sure, and I like Journey Newsom to win a hard-fought decision. I could even see it 29-28. It's going to be competitive, but Newsom edges it by a bit here. I do definitely think he's the harder hitter of the two and the more explosive guy. I think Newsom gets it done. Fun fight. Second fight of the night. Starting off with a potential banger. Next one, the ladies going after it. Lupita Godinez versus Ariane Carnelossi. I'm going to be picking the Lupita Godinez side. But Carnelossi is a beast. I mean, she's jacked. She's strong. She brings great pressure. Multi-shot combos. She'll throw those flurries entering range. But she's a bit of a raw talent. Really athletic. Really explosive and strong. Not supremely technical with the stand-up. You don't see her throwing many jabs. It's majority hooks, trying to close that distance. And she has physical strength advantages over a lot of girls at 115 pounds, especially unranked. But Lupita Godinez is a tricky grappler. She's pretty precise with her takedowns. I do think standing up, Lupita Godinez doesn't have a terrible game either. She has pretty good punch combinations to get close to her opponents, will rip kicks from the outside. And I do think Lupita has a pretty good right hand. She's going to be looking for level changes. In the center of the cage, a girl as strong as Carnelossi might not be easy to do, but I do think you could see Lupita time them as Carnelossi looks to really explode and rush in. The wild hook style, whereas Godinez, that pressure grappling, I think that wins here. She's more technical. She's going to have to deal with a tough Carnelossi early, a strong Carnelossi, but I think the technique of Lupita, she gets her to the floor, works from the top position a bit, grinds her against the cage. I think we're going to see Lupita Godinez get a win by decision, but Carnelossi is a powerhouse. She hits hard, she's explosive, she's aggressive, and she's a fun girl to watch. She's got experience too, 14-2 versus 7-2, but I'm still liking that Lupi side. I've been liking what I'm seeing from her, consistency, and I think she gets it done in a hard matchup versus Ariane Carnelossi. The odds, -185 for Lupita, +184 for Carnelossi. I can see why they're a little wider towards the Lupita Godinez side. Like, Carnelossi has the athletic chops and the explosiveness and the strength to be pretty damn good, but the technique just really isn't there. Lupita doesn't have that same explosiveness or athleticism, but she's got the better technical skills, even in the stand-up. Lupita's a little more patient, calm. I think she'll let the fight come to her, whereas Carnelossi is going to bring the fight. It's going to come to Godinez fast. Carnelossi's going to try to overwhelm her. I see Lupita mixing in wrestling fantastically. I think she works against the cage, controls, trips from there, gets on top, and wins a hard-fought decision over a game Ariane Carnelossi. So Lupita for the W. Next fight of the night. Clayton Rodrigues versus CJ Vergara. I actually really like this fight a lot here. I feel like CJ Vergara is just being thrown to like a real prospect. I mean, he's not a bad fighter at all, but they're throwing him to Clayton Rodrigues. I'm picking Clayton to win the fight. I love the kickboxing of Clayton. He is an excellent kicker. Very wide stance. He's talented standing up for sure. The lead hand's a bit far out, which really helps him control range at an extraordinary rate. Whereas CJ Vergara, he's going to be looking to press inside. He definitely brings more of a boxing heavy game, uses a lot of head movement to try to close distance. His best bet is going to be getting close to Clayton, digging at the body a bit. He's got to rip low on Clayton. I don't think it's going to be easy for him to do. I think that Clayton's distance management will be too much. His movement's going to be a problem. Even Clayton's hands are solid. He's got a good jab. He digs the jab to the body too. The kicks are off the charts. Vergara's best bet might be looking to mix in some takedowns here, but I think Clayton can meet him in the grappling chops. I think it's going to be a fun fight to watch with Clayton outstriking Vergara for the 3, but Vergara there for the distance. He's a tough cat, and he is going to bring it. But Clayton Rodrigues, just better, man. More tools standing up than CJ Vergara. Boxing heavy CJ, more of the overall well-rounded kickboxing game with Clayton. I got to go with the kickboxer here. Now, as far as the lines for this matchup, Clayton is a fairly strong favorite, -264. Carlos Vergara, the +236 dog. I like Clayton for the win. I expect the kicking and distance management to be leading him to victory. Now, he does give up a little bit of reach, 67-inch reach for Clayton. Vergara, 69.5. but the kicks are going to be a difference maker. And I think the speed also favors Clayton as well. Clayton for the win by a decision. Prospect fight in the flyweight division that you don't want to miss. This is a great fight on the prelims. Let's keep running up. Next fight of the night, Tracy Cortez versus Melissa Gatto. I like the Melissa Gatto side here. Tracy Cortez is going to be persistent, looking to wrestle. And you know what? Her win over Justine Quiche looks a lot better now that Quiche was just able to get a W in Bellator against Alima Leigh McFarland, because Quiche originally lost to Diana Bennett. It was a competitive fight between her and Cortez, being Quiche and Cortez. Melissa Gatto got a huge win in the last one against Sijara Eubanks. She was taken down a bit, but what you notice from Gatto, which is something that I like a lot, active from the bottom, trying to throw up submission attempts, still doing good work. Think Tracy Cortez is probably going to try to wrestle here, but I don't see her with as good of offensive wrestling as Sijara Eubanks. I think standing up, Gatto is the better kickboxer of the two. She's got a pretty dangerous kicking game. I mean, that front kick she put Sijara Eubanks down was really precise. I think that Gatto's going to look to work body kicks a bit here. There may be some takedowns from Cortez, but when she gets into on the top position, I think there'll be scrambles from Gatto and submission attempts. And I think Cortez will not be comfortable just staying on top, sitting there. Now, I will give credit where it's due. Tracy Cortez is getting better with the stand-up game. She's definitely improving her boxing especially, but I think Gatto overall is the better striker. The jiu-jitsu, more active from the bottom from Gatto. I like Gatto's game overall. I think she wins. Decision here is kind of what I'm feeling. I think we got a few fights going the distance on these prelims. It's going to be fun, though. And I feel like Cortez is going to bring it. You're going to see a lot of close fighting. Gatto is going to have to manage that distance. If she gets taken down, she's got to be active from the bottom. I believe she will. She got a big win over Sijara Eubanks. I'm carrying that with a lot of weight coming into this fight because that was super impressive. Interestingly, though, Tracy Cortez is the favorite, minus 164. Gatto, the plus 155 underdog. I like Gatto's chances as a dog here. I think she'll win a decision. It's a competitive bout. I don't think the O goes for Gatto just yet. And she will be the first girl to beat Tracy Cortez in the UFC. Fun women's flyweight fight. I like Gatto's game. I think the jiu-jitsu and the stand-up. Cortez, though, probably has the better pure wrestling, but she won't be good enough on the top position. I think Gatto from the bottom will be giving her hell, and I think striking, you're going to see Gatto outstrike her. Definitely landing better punches and kicks from range, and she gets it done. Win, decision, Melissa Gatto. Next fight of the night, Francisco Trinaldo versus Danny Roberts. I'm picking the Hot Chocolate's Danny Roberts side against a 43-year-old Trinaldo. At 43, you're not supposed to be fighting in the welterweight division, but Trinaldo's still there. And I mean, he's winning fights. You look, 4-1 in the last 5. He beat Bobby Green, Medeski, Jai Herbert. The loss there to Muslim Salikov, that's not a bad loss. But the Dwight Grant fight was ultra competitive, and maybe there's a bit of slowing for Trinaldo. It's definitely possible. Both guys southpaws, so I like this southpaw versus southpaw matchup. Roberts is 100% the more slick and quick striker, but Trinaldo is a power pressure fighter. The guy's going to keep coming forward. He takes a great punch. He does have okay wrestling too, but Trinaldo is very physically strong, and he does have dangerous overhands. If he touches that chin, he can do damage. Danny Roberts on the other side, I definitely think can outstrike, at least volume-wise, with Trinaldo from distance. He'll have the edge. He does have the height and reach advantage, both by 4 inches. 5'9" Trinaldo, 6'1" Roberts, 70-inch reach Trinaldo, 74 for Danny Roberts. I feel like Roberts is going to be looking to work from distance, moving a lot. He is pretty active from the bottom if they do go to the floor, which I think is going to be good because Trinaldo, even when he's on top, he'll throw a bit of ground and pound, but he's not like a super quick fighter. Trinaldo's more that paced guy, whereas Hot Chocolate Roberts, he's a higher pace, higher volume fighter. I like that volume for him here. Also in the tie clinch, I think there's going to be opportunities for Roberts to land knees and elbows. I think he'll do good work from there. I think he gets the win. It's a close fight, but I like the Danny Roberts side. Now, as far as the lines, Danny Roberts is even money, minus 110, but you can actually find Roberts as a dog, plus 100. That is over at SIA. Don't know if you guys have availability to that book, but if you do, he is plus money. Otherwise, it's minus 110 for both of them. It's a pick'ems matchup, but I like the Danny Roberts side to get it done. He's also 9 years younger than Trinaldo, but you got to respect Trinaldo. He's jacked. He's still in incredible shape, and he's fighting with these young lions at welterweight. I like the Roberts side. I think he's going to win. I feel like we're going the full 3 here in a competitive matchup where Roberts edges him out. It could even be a 29-28, but maybe a 30-27. I like Roberts' stand-up game. I like the grappling from the bottom. Trinaldo, maybe the physically stronger guy, so he might look to land some takedowns, but I think Roberts will do fairly well in the spot. Roberts for the win, and I'm picking him by a decision. Next fight of the night, Blagoy Ivanov is back. He takes on Marcos Rogério de Lima. De Lima's become a huge heavyweight. I'm going to be picking the Blagoy Ivanov side, but I don't love it. I mean, I'm not like a guy that's super high on Blagoy Ivanov. He's 5'11 at heavyweight. He's a thick dude. I mean, both guys, 35, 36. The age doesn't really have much of a factor here. What you get from Blagoy is a patient output pace with like okay stand-up, but kind of sneaky stand-up. He's actually like maybe discreetly quick. There's some pretty good left hands that Blagoy Ivanov can land, and then he'll close distance and clinch up. He's very strong in those clinch positions, does get on top of his opponents and work well. Pretty good sambo background for Ivanov. I like the chances of him landing some takedowns against De Lima. It's not an easy fight, though. And I mean, with De Lima, you have power puncher, powerhouse. Not knocking everybody out, but I mean, the Ben Rothwell win was damn good. De Lima's a guy that throws 100% into almost every strike. That's his style. He's throwing huge hooks and overhands. Coming off that big win over Rothwell, I think he's coming in with a fair amount of confidence. If De Lima gets on top, I mean, he works well from the top position, very heavy on top. Romanov was able to really beat him dominantly, but Alexander Romanov is a problem at heavyweight, and I'm super excited to see where he goes after the big win over Chase Sherman. I think Blagoy Ivanov snaps the losing streak and turns it up here, beating De Lima. How do I like him to win? Well, if you look at De Lima's losses, he lost by submission to Struve, and he lost by submission to Romanov. We haven't seen many finishes from the Blagoy Ivanov side. I do want to quickly pull up the record. I want to see when the last time Blagoy was able to get a finish. I know it wasn't in the UFC. He has not won by finish since he beat Sean Jordan in 2017, and then he got a front choke on Smelio Rama. I have a feeling Ivanov is going to be there longer, and De Lima gasses late, and Ivanov submits him in the 3rd round. Could also see it going long, so I'm thinking decision or submission, but I like the Blagoy Ivanov side to get the win. The line's minus 145 for Ivanov, Marcos Rogério de Lima plus 138. I like Blagoy to get it done. He's a guy that's been around for a long time at the top of the heavyweight division, even outside of the UFC, getting long experience, going to 5 rounds and whatnot. I think he can beat De Lima in this fight. I think on the floor he has an edge, definitely his offensive wrestling. It's going to be an interesting matchup because De Lima's throwing everything into every shot, and I could see him gassing a bit later. So that's why I'm liking that Ivanov late submission or a decision. Blagoy for the win. Next fight of the night. Brandon Royval, the Raw Dog, takes on Matt Schnell. I'm excited for this fight, but I'm also nervous for this fight. I'm picking the Royval side, but Schnell's not an easy matchup. Schnell is a pretty damn quick kickboxer, does have a wrestling base. He's good with his hands, and Schnell can mix it up in close range and land with some power. He likes to feint. He keeps a lot of like weird head movement to look left, then go right, and then try to close distance. Pretty good combinations when he's closing that distance. Those Schnell fights his best at more of a managed pace. Sometimes, especially that, Pantoja fight, he's going to throw it all out there, go a little bit crazy, could get himself caught. Brandon Royval is an unpredictable striker. He's also a southpaw. Both guys tall for the weight class. 5'9" for Royval, 5'8" for Schnell. Both 70-inch reach, 70.5 towards the side of Royval. The range isn't going to be something too crazy here, but what I do think is Royval has a bit better of a jab, especially when he's evading shots. If they go to the floor, I think Royval has a very tricky submission game. With Royval, you don't know what to expect. He throws spinning elbows. He can land big knockout shots, and you don't see him coming. I think Royval gets it done. I think Schnell's going to bring the fight, and I do think it's going to be a bit of a barn burner. I think Royval hurts Schnell somehow standing and then locks up a submission. I'm going club and sub, win by submission for Brandon Royval. As far as the lines, minus 249 for Brandon Royval. He's a pretty big favorite. Schnell plus 221. The odds are way too wide here, in my opinion. I see this as a competitive fight. Schnell went the distance with Bontorin, lost. win over Bontorin for Royval. Controversial. A lot of people weren't feeling that decision. I like Royval to get it done. I do think he gets the finish here in an action-packed fight with Matt Schnell, but you can't fully sleep on Matt Schnell. I would consider him a somewhat live underdog here, but I'm going to still be riding with the Brandon Royval side, but I do feel like the line is just a bit too wide. Still, he gets it done. Win by submission for Brandon Royval. Next fight of the night, Macy Chiasson and Norma Dumont. The women's featherweight division still exists, but it really doesn't exist in the UFC. These are the few fighters, keeping it alive here. I'm going to be picking the side of Norma Dumont, but not like I want to be picking her side. I like Macy Chiasson, but man, not supremely impressed really with either, but I feel like Dumont could be a bit of a problem in the clinch, maybe land some takedowns. She does work a pretty damn good jab. Dumont, not as long as Macy Chiasson, but Chiasson doesn't control range super well. She tends to get in close with girls and fight in that close distance. The taller fighter sometimes is at a bit more of a disadvantage. Look for Dumont to potentially wing some overhands up the top and then look to clinch up and work throws from there. Submission win in the last one for Raquel Pennington over Macy Chiasson. Look for Norma Dumont to try to work some grappling exchanges between these two. Chiasson's decent from range, but as I said, she doesn't manage the range super well. Does have an okay jab. I think that Dumont has a bit more pop on the punches. Chiasson, decent kicks from the distance. She's got a good game, and there's a lot of potential there, but Norma Dumont has that momentum strongly in her favor. She's been looking better each fight out. I mean, even the win over Aspen Ladd, I didn't love the fight, but Dumont got a clear victory there. I feel like the clinch advantage for Dumont is going to win her the fight. She's going to look to get trips from there, look to get on top of Chiasson. I think Norma Dumont wins a fairly competitive decision over Macy. And then is Norma Dumont the number one contender at featherweight? What are we doing with this belt? What are we doing with this division? Because I have no idea why it's still in existence if Amanda Nunes is not fighting there. She's fighting Pena at 35. Is she going to then, if she beats Pena, jump up? Or if she loses to Pena, jump up? I don't know. But they're keeping 145 alive in the UFC. And I guess it's just because their competitors are all keeping it alive. With Bellator having a pretty decent 145-pound weight class. I actually really enjoy the Bellator women's featherweight division, with Cyborg at the top of it. The rematch that unfortunately we never get is Cyborg Nunes. I want to see it still to this day. I'd love to see them run it back. I'm picking Norma Dumont, win by a decision. As far as the odds, Dumont's a fairly strong favorite, minus 235. I think she should win a competitive decision, could even be a spotty decision. Chiasson plus 208. Don't love the bet here, but I like the Norma Dumont side. Competitive, but I think the clinch and wrestling advantage is going to win her the fight over Macy here. Next fight is our featured prelim, and it's heating up with these featured prelim right here. It's heating up. It's Randy Brown versus Khaos Williams. I love this fight. Randy Brown shown a lot of improvements, and he's coming into his own. Khaos Williams is the death touch. I think Khaos Williams wins the fight by knockout. I feel like Randy Brown from distance is still a problem. He's a long welterweight, 6'3", 78-inch reach. Brown's developed some nasty kickboxing skills. Pretty solid front kicks, solid straight punches. The skill set on the floor is always solid for Randy Brown. I believe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. So on the ground, he's good. Khaos Williams not an easy guy to deal with on the ground either. I mean, he's coming off the win over Miguel Baeza. He knocked him out, and that was before Baeza then got slept by Fialho afterwards. Khaos Williams did a bit more of that damage, to maybe wear down the chin of Baeza. Khaos is super dangerous with the kickboxing, and he really hits like a truck. If you get too close to him, you get caught, you get dropped. Randy Brown has been knocked out in the past. I can't bank on Randy Brown outstriking Khaos for 3 rounds without getting hit by some significant punches. I just don't think it happens. And I think when Khaos lands a significant strike, Brown will fall. I'm going Khaos Williams by knockout. I'm thinking in the 3rd round. It's a scary fight. Brown tends to keep the hands low with more of that slick style. Khaos, pressure, patient pressure, really though, with a good kickboxing game. Heavy hooks when he gets in close. And if he can get close to Randy Brown and he touches him with a hook, I don't think Randy stands up to it. I think I'm going to go Khaos Williams by knockout. Also, the physical strength is off the charts for Khaos, so I think we'll be able to fend off the grappling of Brown if Brown's looking to get it there. And the explosiveness far favors Khaos Williams. Fun fight, competitive one. Don't sleep on Randy Brown because he is live here, but I like Khaos by KO. Odds, Khaos Williams a minus 123 favorite. Randy Brown the plus 115 underdog. I think Brown could go out there and win a decision similar to what he did in the last one against Jared Gooden. But I think Khaos Williams is a better version of Gooden. Interesting, though, kind of similar frames. Khaos Williams, 6 foot, 77-inch reach. Same with Jared Gooden. I think Brown's looking to do the same thing. Difference is Khaos is more explosive. I think he's the better stand-up fighter than Gooden. He definitely hits harder. He'll find that chin of Randy Brown, and I think he puts him down. I'm going to pick the third round as well. Khaos Williams for the KO in the featured prelim. Live fight and an exciting matchup. Let's jump to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to smash the hell out of that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on too. It's Cowboy Cerrone versus Joe J-Lo Lozon. How crazy is it that in 2022, we see this fight? And it's a Legends matchup. This is fun to me. I like how they're doing this. Legend versus legend. Instead of throwing either of them to the wolves. 2.5-year layoff for Joe Lozon. I beat Jonathan Pierce. He beat in the last one. Had a great performance. That was like the 1 in a million type performance. Lozon was on his game. Cerrone got destroyed in the last fight against Morono. I'm going to pick the Cowboy Cerrone side, but damn, it's scary because he might not show up and he's back down at lightweight and he hasn't been at lightweight in a while. I believe the last fight at lightweight was this matchup with Justin Gaethje 2.5 years ago. And he fights Joe Lozon, who didn't look great prior to the win over Jonathan Pierce. I mean, Chris Grutzmacher was touching him up. I think Cerrone, with that Thai style of striking, is going to land a lot of kicks from distance. I think the hands are competitive between the two, but I think Cerrone might get the better of Lozon a bit. Lozon starts fast. Cerrone starts slow. This is a concern. I think Lozon's going to put it on Cerrone early. Cerrone's going to need to be able to weather that early storm. Lozon's going to come in with really good 1-2s. He has some nice straight shots. He's going to pressure Cerrone. I think he's going to land straight shots down the line. At 55, is Cerrone's durability going to be better or worse? We're going to find out. The matchup against Lozon is a fight for both of them to really retire off of, but I think Cowboy Cerrone is going to go to war with Joe Lozon. I think it's an ultra competitive fight, and I'm actually predicting Cowboy Cerrone to get a knockout win. Both guys, I think, are going to leave their hearts in the cage. Cerrone nearly 40, 39, Lozon 37. I'm kind of feeling like this is the last one for both of them, and they're going to go out starting the main card of a pay-per-view with a bang. I'm calling it. This might be one of the fights of the night or damn close to it. I think it's an excellent matchup. I like the Cowboy Cerrone side. I don't think Joe Lozon can out-grapple Cerrone either. Cerrone's been pretty active competing in jiu-jitsu, and maybe he surprises us taking Lozon down and beating him up on the floor. Something with Cerrone is he's always had this really good ground game, but we just never see a ton of it. He likes to stand up and trade. Kind of stiff, Donald Cerrone. I think Lozon is going to bust up the nose at the least. I think both guys are going to get busted up here. I'm going Cerrone win. I think he gets the finish. Thinking KO, TKO in the second or third, but don't be surprised if he mixes in some takedowns and then Cerrone wins a fairly dominant decision. I'm hoping, though, that we see these two just leave it all in the cage, finish it out, call it the end for both of them. Cerrone with the win over Joe Lozon. Fun matchup. Battle of guys that just have always brought the fight. I love this fight. We never saw it when they were in their primes. We see it now. Definitely Cerrone's prime. He was up here. Lozon was always here. But now they're meeting somewhere in the middle. I still think Cerrone's the better guy. Cerrone minus 165. Lozon plus 158. I like the Cowboy Cerrone side to win, but it's a damn scary bet if you're on that betting side. I'm going Cerrone, though, for the W. Gets it done, bounces back with a much-needed win, and maybe he calls it a career here. Next one, Ovince St. Preux versus Mauricio Shogun Rua 2. The rematch, years and years and years in the making. The first one, St. Preux starched Shogun in 39 seconds. Now, they run it back, and both are coming off losses. St. Preux hasn't looked great. I'm still picking the St. Preux side to beat Shogun once again. I'm always worried about that Shogun chin, man. And I mean, even if he stands up to St. Preux shots for a bit, it takes one clean one, and I think St. Preux sleeps him. Ovince is a tricky southpaw, super unorthodox, has really good overhands. I mean, he touched Shogun up early in that fight. That was just that first one was weird. It was 39 seconds, big shot near the cage. Shogun goes down. It was like a looping overhand punch. I expect more of those looping overhands from Ovince St. Preux here. The biggest thing with St. St. Preux is he also has a really sneaky ground game. Shogun Rua, when you look back at the Paul Craig fight, he didn't look terrible. As good as Paul Craig looks on the ground, Shogun Rua's jiu-jitsu is legit because he survived with Paul Craig on the mat for a while before tapping to strikes and just getting beaten down. Shogun Rua still has the solid Muay Thai as always. Really in his prime, he's known for that super dangerous stepping lead hook. Does he land it here on St. Preux and we get a crazy knockout win for Shogun to cap off the career with? It could happen, but I'm not going to pick it. I'm picking the Ovince St. Preux side. I think he gets a second or third round KO. Shogun's going to bring it to him with everything he has because this could be it for Shogun Rua. I believe it probably will be. He's 40 years of age and he's been out for how long now? A year and a half almost, a year and 4 months. I think Ovince St. Preux gets to win over Shogun and goes 2-0 against him. But for the legacy story, like we'll be rooting for the Shogun side, but I got to pick Ovince St. Preux. He's a fairly big favorite too, minus 229 for St. Preux. Shogun plus 205. Give me that St. Preux side. I do think this fight ends inside of the distance. And I think St. Preux getting the hand raise, win by knockout over Shogun Rua. Let's see them run it back. Let's get it. Let's go. Good fight. It's like legend versus legend fights back to back here. I guess more of the legend on the Shogun side, but longtime vet with St. Preux who's fought the who's who. Let's jump to the featured bout of the night. Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson. Oh, it's unfortunate that Tony Ferguson's getting thrown Chandler. I mean, as a fan, I'm so excited to see the fight. But like, we don't want to see Tony lose again. I got to pick the Michael Chandler side. I have to. Chandler is such a good power striker. He's got excellent hooks. He hurt Gaethje bad in that first round. Even though he lost the fight, he was still there live throughout the whole thing up until, he got rocked bad with that uppercut, but he's still alive. Michael Chandler's a beast. Super explosive, really good wrestling in the back pocket. Ferguson, he's been beaten by the upper echelon. I mean, he lost to Gaethje, he lost to Oliveira, and he lost to Dariush. Dariush's game is just a bad stylistic matchup. I actually thought Tony shouldn't have took that fight, because Dariush with just that grinding decision, gonna kind of lay and pray per se, but he worked great work from the top. I respect Dariush for out-grappling Tony Ferguson. Chandler is probably not going in with the mindset to just out-grapple Tony Ferguson. I think he's expecting a war, and he's gonna go to war here. You look at Tony Ferguson, extremely dangerous kickboxing. The hands are always solid. I mean, he's trained with Freddie Roach. Even though the chin is a bit high for Ferguson, it's made out of iron. You can't hurt this guy. I mean, yeah, Gaethje stopped him, but it wasn't a clean knockout. It was just a accumulation of so many power shots from maybe the hardest hitter at 155, and Tony Ferguson was still standing at the end of the fight, even though he got touched up bad there. Ferguson, super unorthodox. He moves extremely well. Dangerous front kicks. Solid straights when he's closing the distance. The chin is up high, as I said, but Tony Ferguson does move his head well. He rolls with punches well, and he's got an iron chin. Chandler needs to be smart not to gas out and go crazy here. I mean, if Chandler tries to get Ferguson out of there in a round, and then Ferguson survives, there's a chance Michael Chandler gets stopped by just the relentless Tony Ferguson. Now, I think that Chandler is smarter than that, and he respects Tony Ferguson more than just trying to blitz him. He's definitely going to go crazy early, and it's going to be a wild fight. But don't be surprised if Chandler tries to wrestle a bit. Maybe slow the pace at moments to regain the gas tank. I'm going to pick Michael Chandler to win a decision in this fight, which is crazy. I think it's going to be violent. This might be the craziest fight ever. I mean, the decision might be way off, and we might see one of them get slept. I just have a hard time seeing Tony Ferguson go flat unconscious. And I think there's more of a chance of Ferguson winning by KO maybe. I don't know. Crazy pick. I mean, I've been all over the place with the pick. The official one is Chandler decision. But as I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, if Ferguson can survive the early onslaught from Chandler, maybe attack the body a bit. Second round, you see a little fatigue from Chandler. Ferguson keeps coming. Maybe he stops him and pulls off a crazy upset. I wish we had 5 rounds, but we only have 3. For that reason, I'll go Michael Chandler to win a decision over Tony Ferguson, which sucks to say, but it is what it is. I do like both men a ton, so best of luck to either, to both really. The best man shall win, and we'll find out. The odds are crazy, but I see why they're doing it. Minus 390 for Chandler, Ferguson plus 342. They definitely want you to jump on that Ferguson dog side, and then they'll hope he gets burned, or people saying Chandler, absolute lock of the week, and then, they get burned trying to throw down on him if Ferguson somehow gets it done. But Ferguson's had a rough go in the past 3, man. He doesn't seem like the same fighter, and his last win was against Cowboy Cerrone. That's not a huge win anymore. Anthony Pettis before that. That's not a huge win anymore. These wins are ages ago, nearly 3 years ago for that Cowboy Cerrone one. It's been 3 straight losses. The first fight back since the pandemic, and then we got the pay-per-view between him and Gaethje. It was an amazing fight. He lost. Oliveira wins, and now Oliveira is the champion. Dariush, top contender. And, I mean, Tony Ferguson is only fighting the best of the best. And he's thrown Michael Chandler, who, I mean, lost to Gaethje, but still was a hell of a fight. Lost to Oliveira, had his moments, almost won that fight. Still not the champion of the world. I'm going Michael Chandler, win by a decision. Crazy-ass fight. I can't wait to see it happen. I'm hoping a fight of the year ensues, and we just see absolute violence. Chandler, decision. But may the best man win it. Co-main event, Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza. Listen, I'm picking the Rose Namajunas side to avenge this loss. This was the inaugural women's strawweight championship fight, and Carla Esparza was the better woman that night. Now, her game has definitely improved since then, but it's still based the same. She's an absolute beast of a wrestler who's very physically strong and so persistent. She's going to chain wrestle you. She gets you down once, you get up, she's going to keep going. She's going to try to ground and pound. I mean, she looked really good against Xiaonan in the last one with the ground and pound, getting a stoppage there. But more so, competitive decisions for Esparza against these tricky strikers with solid grappling games. Rose Namajunas, if she wins this fight, does she get the number 1 strawweight ever title? Probably. This is the girl she has to beat. She has to avenge this loss, and then she's avenged all the losses here in the UFC. I think Rose Namajunas, I guess, you know what? The one girl that beat her, that she's not going to be able to avenge that loss, the name is escaping me, but I got to pull it up. What was the loss that she had, and she's not going to be able to avenge it? Because it was this Karolina Kowalkiewicz got her on a split decision. Kowalkiewicz will have that win over her. That's crazy. But if Rose Namajunas wins this fight, she is the greatest women's strawweight ever. Carla Esparza is not going to make it easy. We've seen Esparza stop before by really dangerous stand-up game from Joanna and Jacek, using the range well, unloading with shots. I think Rose Namajunas can do a lot of damage striking with Esparza, but she has to stop the takedown. If she gets down, needs to find ways up fairly quickly and be very active from the bottom. I expect she will. Rose Namajunas is just a precise striker. The knockout of Zhang Weili in the first matchup was incredible. The rematch, she went to war with her and she got a win. Carla Esparza is going to try to wrestle here. I think Rose has improved her grappling chops well enough to win this bout. I'm going Rose Namajunas for the win. I'm going to pick Rose by stoppage. I'm going 3rd round knockout, and I think this is a legacy performance. She sleeps Carla Esparza and still champion, and becomes the greatest strawweight of all time. And I think, I mean, you can't argue it. Maybe you got to run it back with Andrade for a trilogy, but still, it would be just a huge accolade to get the W. Rose Namajunas, Thug Rose, -190 as the favorite. Carla Esparza, +177 as the dog. I like Namajunas the favorite. I think she avenges this loss. I remember the Ultimate Fighter season. These two faced off. I was fully rooting for Rose, and then Esparza gets it done. Now Rose is ready for this fight right here. She's ready for this test, and she's going to get the win. Rose Namajunas for the victory over Carla Esparza. Let's jump to the main event of the evening. Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. Guys, if you have not yet, make sure to smash the hell out of the like button. I'm picking the Charles Oliveira side. You know, of course, I looked for any way I could go against him with Gaethje here. It's going to be extremely hard to do for Gaethje. I definitely expect Justin to be chopping those low kicks and then looking to rip overhands. I think Oliveira might get dropped in the first round. He's been getting dropped in the first round against the dangerous guys, and he survives. The thing is, Oliveira, if he gets hurt and he gets dropped, he isn't just trying to rush back up to his feet. He'll lay down. He'll say, come into my guard. He knows his jiu-jitsu is a serious threat for all of these lightweights. Oliveira on the ground can submit anybody at 155 if he's given the right opportunity. Justin Gaethje standing up is an absolute powerhouse. His overhands are incredible. His low kicks are fantastic. His lateral movement is so quick. He takes a great punch. He took everything Michael Chandler had and then beat the brakes off of him for the next 2 rounds and even finished the first round damn strong. Charles Oliveira is a super precise kickboxer as well. He's amazingly slick, has an incredible check left hook. If he touches the chin of Gaethje, he can put him out here. I think he's going to have to weather the early storm from Gaethje, and then I think Oliveira will start to find the success standing up too. And if you look in the clinch positions, you look at the fight with Poirier, Oliveira has excellent knees in the clinch, excellent elbows in the clinch. I think he's going to be touching Gaethje up in close range. Gaethje's going to try to wing hard shots. Oliveira, at some point, will find a way to get it to the floor. Now, Gaethje has a chance to win this fight in the first round. If Gaethje's to win, I'm calling it first round knockout. Oliveira is going to drag him into the deeper waters after Gaethje tried to put it on him hard. He's like, this guy's not going down. Second, third round, I think Oliveira takes over. I think if Oliveira gets Gaethje to the floor, it's a fish out of water. This is shark. This is the shark Oliveira. And this is the bait Justin Gaethje on the ground. The level on the ground is way different than the level standing up. Justin Gaethje has excellent wrestling, but he doesn't have the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu chops, and Oliveira is the best with his jiu-jitsu. I'm calling win by submission for Charles Oliveira. I'm feeling third round, similar to how it was with Dustin Poirier, but might even be second. And I do think it's going to be a rear naked choke. I think somehow Oliveira will get that back position, especially if they work against the cage. He locks up that rear naked, chokes Justin Gaethje unconscious. I don't think Justin Gaethje taps to anything. So if Oliveira does look for an arm here, I expect Gaethje's limb to snap. This is going to be crazy. This is an amazing main event. I cannot wait for this fight. And I think Charles Oliveira defends. He's been around for such a long time, and to become the best and see the rise for him, incredible. Oliveira minus 161 is the favorite. Gaethje plus 153 is the dog. He's an absolute live dog. But the Charles Oliveira side, win by submission, is going to be the pick here. Standing up, Gaethje's going to have success early. Oliveira's going to have to weather the storm. I believe he will. And still champion. This card's incredible when you really get to the top. The prelims aren't bad either. I think we have an action-packed weekend ahead of us with some fun bets to play as well. I'm super excited to throw down at some of these bigger fights at the top here. And I mean, Chandler, Ferguson, you have to love it. I'm picking Oliveira at the top, man. That's the main thing. Oliveira gets it done and still champion for the main event pick. What a card. I cannot wait to watch it. Guys, smash the hell out of the like button. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the predictions. We're coming back this week with a vengeance. I'll be live on the channel for the full card, so definitely tune into the Fight Companion. I got content dropping all week long, each and every day, so make sure you subscribe and turn those post notifications on. If you really enjoy the content, share the video as well. If you just enjoyed the video, but you really don't have much to say in the comments, drop a W in the chat for your boy to pump the algorithm. Much love, my people, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, guys.